A convoy of 22 aid trucks entered the Syrian city of Suwaida on Wednesday following weeks of clashes.
More than 100 non-governmental organizations have sounded the alarm about mass starvation in Gaza.
Thousands rallied in Kyiv, urging Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to veto a bill critics say could cripple Ukraine's anti-corruption infrastructure. Trump announced a new trade framework with Japan that will impose a 15% tariff on Japanese imports, easing back from a previously threatened 25% levy.
A convoy of 22 aid trucks entered the Syrian city of Suwaida on Wednesday. It was the second aid convoy by the Syrian Arab Red Crescent to be sent since clashes erupted between the Druze minority militiamen and Sunni Bedouin tribes backed by security forces. Wednesday's trucks contained 4,000 food baskets, 66 tons of flour, 10,000 bottles of drinking water, and humanitarian medical supplies, according to Syrian officials. The first aid convoy entered the city on Sunday. The head of the Syrian Arab Red Crescent said the situation in Suwaida remained grim, particularly in the main hospital where some 300 bodies piled up during the clashes. The city had been almost entirely cut off from supplies during the 2-week fighting. Clashes that took place in Suwaida over the past 2 weeks have killed hundreds and displaced over 130,000 people, according to the United Nations.
More than 100 non-governmental organizations have sounded the alarm about mass starvation in Gaza in a joint statement. Prominent NGOs like Doctors Without Borders, Amnesty International and Oxfam warned that they witnessed their own colleagues and partners, quote, waste before their eyes. They are once again calling for an immediate ceasefire, the opening of all crossings, and the free flow of humanitarian aid. The statement comes exactly 2 months since the launch of the controversial US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. The UN Human Rights Office said that since May, more than 1,000 Palestinians trying to access food and aid in Gaza have been killed by Israeli forces, mostly near aid sites run by the GHF. Later this week, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is set to travel to Europe to discuss a range of issues, including Gaza and the push for a ceasefire. Witkoff will also travel to the Middle East, where he is hopeful to come forward with a ceasefire agreement and the establishment of a humanitarian corridor.
The World Health Organization has condemned what it called a blatant attack on its facilities and staff in the central city of Deir el-Balah in Gaza. The organization says Israeli forces attacked its main warehouse and the residences of staff, causing extensive damage. It added that its response capabilities to humanitarian crises were also severely reduced. The warehouse, storing everything from medical supplies to clothing, was bombed in the early hours of Tuesday and then looted by desperate locals, according to the WHO. The staff residents and the families living there were subjected to 3 separate attacks, one which caused a fire as well as structural damage to the building. Israeli forces stormed the building during the shelling, forcing women and children to leave on foot towards Al-Mawasi, which Israel designated a safe haven on Sunday. It comes as Israel carries out what it described as a major ground operation in the city. It's the first time the IDF conducts an operation on the central city, noting previously that they've avoided it as they believe Hamas may be harboring hostages there. Deir el-Balah is one of the last remaining areas in the enclave to still be standing, having suffered minimal damage so far in Israel's 21-month offensive. Dozens were killed in Israeli attacks on the city in the past 48 hours, and hundreds of thousands were forcibly displaced.
Thousands rallied in Kyiv on Tuesday, urging Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to veto a bill critics say would cripple Ukraine's anti-corruption infrastructure. The parliament had passed a controversial bill tightening oversight of 2 key anti-corruption bodies. Critics warned the measure could weaken the independence of the agencies and increase political influence over investigations. Despite public outcry, Zelensky reportedly signed the bill into law.
Ми повинні робити все, щоб наша Україна була ціла і вільна, і незалежно. І ми повинні підтримувати військо всіма методами, а це один з них. Об'єднуватися і боротися проти корупції. І безпосередньо це великий важіль, завдяки якому Європа підтримуватиме нас.
Transparency International criticised the news, saying it undermines past reform and damages trust with international partners.
Важливо боротися з корупцією, щоб більше грошей йшло на ЗСУ, нашу армію. Чим більше буде ефективно держава використовувати наші ресурси і буде менше корупції, тим більше ми можемо направляти ресурси на наш захист і на нашу боротьбу.
Натомість ми бачимо, як президент України замість того, щоб бути прикладом, бути локомотивом цієї історії боротьби і демонструвати нульову толерантність до корупції, зараз використовує свій владний ресурс для того, щоб взяти контроль над кримінальними провадженнями свого оточення.
Fighting corruption is a key condition for Ukraine's bid to join the European Union and to secure continued Western support as it defends against Russia's ongoing full-scale invasion. US President Donald Trump announced a new trade framework with Japan that will impose a 15% tariff on Japanese imports, easing back from a previously threatened 25% levy. Under the new agreement, Trump said Japan would invest $550 billion in the US and open its economy to US rice and cars. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba welcomed the deal and said it would benefit both nations while strengthening bilateral cooperation.
私とトランプ大統領との間で今般の合意の実施に努めるとともに、経済のみならず、あらゆる分野での日米関係をさらに発展をさせ、自由で開かれたインド太平洋の実現に向けてさらに取り組んでまいります。
Ishiba's ruling coalition had failed in a recent election to secure a majority, but he said he would stay in office to avoid creating a political vacuum and to deal with the tariffs. Key details of the new deal remain unclear, including whether Japanese-made cars would still be subject to the 25% tariff Trump has announced for the automobile sector.
A firefighting helicopter crashed into the Gulf of El Efsina with all 3 people on board rescued from the water, according to local officials. A search and rescue operation was launched after authorities were alerted that the aircraft had gone down at sea. The occupants crashed while attempting to collect water to fight a fire near Athens. They were taken by ambulance to a local hospital. No information was immediately available on their condition. Authorities launched an investigation into the cause of the crash.
EU Home Affairs Minister meeting in Copenhagen on Tuesday have broadly endorsed the 2 recent controversial proposals by the European Commission designed to curb irregular migration into the bloc. By changing the EU definition of safe third countries, member states would be allowed to dismiss asylum applications without consideration and transfer applicants overseas, even if the migrant has no connection to the place in question. This could result in partnership with the non-EU countries similar to the UK's Rwanda deportation policy that was ruled unlawful by the UK's Supreme Court. Previously considered taboo, many countries have now come around to the idea, according to the Danish Minister for Immigration.
Well, I think we need to make sure that processing of asylum claim is not necessarily done within the European Union. I think that's the best way to break the business model of human smugglers.
The other innovative idea would enable member states to transfer rejected asylum seekers to return hubs outside the EU, while completing the paperwork to get them returned to their countries of origin. The Commission's proposal lays the necessary legal groundwork to allow governments to strike arrangements with countries outside the bloc that might be willing to host migrants in return for financial incentives. 2 centers built in Albania by the Italian government, initially meant to host asylum seekers and now converted into return centers, could serve as a model. Other countries could follow suit with similar schemes.
La France a des blocages constitutionnels, mais sur des centres de retour, nous n'en avons pas, et tout ce qui permettra de rendre plus efficaces les éloignements, j'y suis favorable.
Migration is a priority for Denmark, which is currently chairing the EU, and many other countries seem to be on board with the proposals. France, Germany, Austria, Poland, and Czech Republic recently signed a common declaration to beef up migrant returns, strengthen external borders, and build partnerships with third countries. Vincenzo Genovese, Euronews, Brussels.
Heavy metal legend Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76, just weeks after his farewell concert at the Black Sabbath reunion in Birmingham. Osbourne was the lead singer of Black Sabbath, a band that redefined 20th century music with songs like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs.
The Prince of Darkness, he was an institution, the founder of heavy metal, in my opinion. He introduced it to me as a teenager. So it's a sad day, and I had the honor of meeting the family as well. I'm very sad for Sharon and the family.
Osbourne's fame expanded into the mainstream in the early 2000s when he joined his wife Sharon Osbourne and two of their children in the MTV reality TV show, The Osbournes.
Not only was it one of the first of its kind, it kind of pioneered the genre, in my opinion. You know, it was before social media, so like the access we had to celebrities and people like Ozzy Osbourne was very limited.
We had no idea what we were getting. We thought it was just going to be an extension of Cribs. And so when it came out, we were all absolutely flabbergasted at the response.
Osbourne's family announced his death in a statement, saying he passed away peacefully. In 2020, the singer had announced he had Parkinson's disease after suffering a fall.